All right. We have reached the appointed hour. We'll call the Cumberland County Finance meeting to order, and we will begin with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Nieder.
Here.
Commissioner Fashi.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Next, we will open it up for public comment. And Lauren, is there anyone showing on your screen that's interested in making public comment at this time?
There is not.
We have a number of folks in the room. Is there anyone in the room interested in making public comment at this time? Nope. Okay, we will go on then to the approval of the minutes from the October 2nd meeting.
I'll move to approve.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next up then, we will roll right into the presentation today from the Cumberland County Tax Collectors Association. I'm not sure who's going to be driving the train, but if you ladies want to step forward or how you'd like to do it, you're welcome to take a seat here. I think there is a slide deck that you're prepared to share.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'd just like to introduce myself. I am Barbara Matter, North Middleton Township Tax Collector and the President of the Cumberland County Tax Collector Association. I just want to thank you for allowing us to come here and speak to you today. And I'd like my fellow collectors to briefly go around and introduce themselves.
I'm Debbie Weist, Silver Spring Township Tax Collector for the last 41 years. I'm also the Vice President of the East of the Pennsylvania State Tax Collectors Association.
Debbie Leupold, East Pennsboro Township, and approaching 24 years in the tax office.
I'm Sharon Shipman from Upper Island Township. I'm just in my 3rd year as tax collector, but I retired from the township after 25 years. I worked in the township.
Bridget Bernheisel, tax collector for Lower Mifflin Township. I only have 2.5 years in.
Carolyn McQuillan, Dickinson Township Tax Collector, 37 years.
Hi, I'm Tracy Winton. It's my 1st year for tax collector for Mount Holly Springs. Took over the last 2 years for my predecessor. So learning lots.
Julia Weller, tax collector from Monroe Township. I'm in my 8th year.
Jerry Ann Spangler, Newville Borough. I'm in my 11th year.
Sharon Rudy, Wormleysburg Borough. I'm in my 1st year.
Is that it? Okay, now I'm going to hand the presentation over to Jennifer Varner. She's tax collector for South Middleton Township.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having us here. I am the tax collector for South Middleton Township. I have been doing it for 10 years. I'm also the treasurer of the statewide Pennsylvania State Tax Collector Association organization. Are we supposed to do anything with this? Or is it, in terms of transmitting that out, it's good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if we had to do anything else. Sorry.
Nope.
But okay. Thank you again for having us here today. And please, if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to ask. As you have seen, we introduced ourselves. There are 33 municipalities that we collect taxes for. As you've seen, we have tax collectors ranging from just a few months to over 40 years. Barb and I are here presenting for the Cumberland County Tax Collector Association. We meet on a quarterly basis. And the reason why we meet is to keep the tax collectors up to date for any changes in new information, new laws, or anything we need to disseminate to the tax collectors in our county. For example, a couple of years ago, the county implemented the refund for firefighters and EMS. We contacted the contact here and got posters and handouts. And at our meeting, we disseminated that to our tax collectors so they could post them in their office. So people, our firefighters and our EMS people were aware of it. And we also told them how their responsibility was to provide a receipt for them so they could submit that for their refund. Before we meet quarterly, we usually check with Robin Weigel and Kathy Waters at the Property Assessment Office to see if there's any information we need to pass along to our tax collectors. We also have presentations from the county and other organizations that come into our meetings so we can educate our tax collectors so we know of the services that are available for our taxpayers. For example, we recently had Kathy Waters from Property Assessment and Melissa Mixel from Tax Claim come in to talk to us about some of the processes they do. And we talked about how we handle things on our side. And through this communication, we've come up with some solutions for different problems we've had. We've been having some issues where if there's been a change of address, it would knock people off the homestead program. And sometimes when they submit a change of address, we don't know if we should take them off that homestead credit program. So we came together at this meeting and came up with a solution that just adding a simple checkbox, yes or no, on the change of address form in terms of should somebody be taken off the homestead program. So by having them into our meetings and hearing their side and they're hearing our side, we've been able to work together and come up with some solutions. You commissioners are welcome to attend our quarterly meetings. We have meals. And I promise it's not too boring. We only get our calculators out once or twice. So you're always welcome to come if you'd like.
Can I just put in there, we also had Keter Kellerman from the Veterans Affairs come in. So we can help our vets and help them go through that process. If they are 100% disabled, that they can get their exemptions, that is well deserved.
And I have a quote here from Stacy Snyder. It's an email that she sent us back on March 22nd of 2023. It says the third and possibly the most important change we have made is to talk about the ways we can communicate more frequently or in different ways with you all. And we have definitely seen an improvement in the type of communication and the communication we've been getting from the county. We now have a quarterly newsletter that we get from the property assessment. It's been very informative, showing us some aspects that we don't see, keeping us up to date with new ways they're handling things, new staff. We really appreciated getting that newsletter. They've also asked us if we had any information we want to include. So we've appreciated that effort. Like we said, we've had them attend our Cumberland County tax collector meetings, and that has been a really good source of sharing information and learning things. You might know that GSS is the software we use, or some of us use for tax collection, and it recently went online. We had a lot of meetings and working with property assessment in terms of how to get that up and running. So we've definitely seen a lot of increase in communication and different ways of communication, and we really appreciate those efforts. Some of the plans for the future plans for the Cumberland County Tax Collector Association, we would like to have more speakers from the county and other organizations to educate our tax collector on services that are available for taxpayers. We feel that we know what's out there. We can communicate that information to our taxpayers. As Barb mentioned, we had somebody from the Veterans Office come. That is, we do have a number of veterans that are 100% disabled, therefore they're 100% exempt from their taxes. So it's nice to have that information as how we can point our veterans there for help. We are the contact point for local and county government for many individuals. And we feel that we can help educate them about the services that are available by keeping open lines of communication and finding out the different things that are available through the county and our other jurisdictions. I have another quote from Stacy. She's on. I quoted her. We appreciated her emails. This one's from February 14th. This says, thank you for the valuable service you provide to your municipality and to the county as tax collector. It is through your tireless efforts that the tax revenue is collected and dispersed to be put to use by local government. So we just wanted to go a little bit through some of the efforts that Stacy was mentioning. These are probably some things that you would think a tax collector does. Later on, I'll talk about some things you might not be aware of what a tax collector does, but these are things that we do on a regular basis. For example, we collect payments from taxpayers, mortgage companies, and settlement companies. We are a one-stop shop for these mortgage companies and settlement companies. They can come to us and get information about assessment. They can get information about the status of the bills. They can get information if taxes are not paid. And they can come to us at one place and get all that information. And by having that ease of access to that information with us, we can then get the taxpayers' taxes hopefully paid quicker and make it better for the taxpayer. We keep detailed accounts and reporting of what has been paid and what is due on a weekly basis during the discount period. We turn those reports over to the county. We also provide them with monthly reports and any other reports on an as-needed basis. We maintain addresses and research hundreds of pieces of mail. You might not be aware that our bills go out with a code on them to return them to us versus forwarding them, because sometimes when a bill is forwarded, It might be just a change of ownership. So we don't want the old owner to get the bill when the new owner should get it. So we get it has a code to come back to us and we research where these bills should go. I sometimes feel like I should have a PI license trying to find these addresses. You have to be a detective to find them. A lot of them wind up being, it's just a change of ownership. And then when that report flows through from the county, that solves the problem. But a lot of times we just don't know where these people go. So I, for example, contact our water authority and see if they have a different address for where they send bills. And if they do, I will then send them a copy of the bill along with an address change report. So hopefully we'll get the correct address on the books for us and for the county. Besides maintaining addresses, we process interim bills, which happen when there's a change in a taxpayer's property assessment. This is a lot of times new builds. When bills originally go out, it'll be just based on the land value. And when a home is completed, they'll send out an interim bill that will represent the increase in value. So they'll get a bill outside of the regular billing cycle. This can be kind of confusing for people, especially a new build, because they'll represent usually a partial year and a partial amount. People don't understand why they're getting them. They don't understand how they pay them. They don't understand if their mortgage company pays them. So we're always helping people who get interim bills to figure out how to do that. Some of us include explanations in the interim bills as to why they're getting them, but we still get a lot of questions on those. And I have seen in my job that a lot of new builds are new homeowners. So it's not only are they learning the whole mortgage process, they have to figure out this interim new build. So we do get a lot of questions on those. We deposit checks, cash, and money orders in a timely manner. And one of the things, especially with checks, we have a lot of issues before they can go to the bank. Like we'll have NSF checks, so we have to track down why the check was bounced and get the money from them. We have people who forget to sign checks. We have people who don't have the numerical matching the written. We have people who drop off, like if it's 3,300, they'll drop off 1,000, they'll drop off the 100, and that written amount should match the numerical amount. So we'll get all that taken care of and cleaned up so we can get the checks deposited and taken care of quickly. We also issue refunds if it's close to the end of the discount period and there's not enough time to turn the check around. We'll process the check and then issue a refund. And obviously, if they don't pay enough, we'll make sure we get the right amount of money in. A lot of us handle credit card payments, e-checks, and debit payments. We process tax information requests from the settlement companies and mortgage companies. Like I said before, they want to know what's something's assessed at, if they're on homestead, if the bill's been paid. So we provide that information to those companies. We also provide receipts to elderly people for the rebate program through the state. They're required to have a stamped, signed receipt from us in order to be able to get a refund from the state if they're eligible. So we provide them with receipts. We also provide the EMS and firefighters with receipts. We deal with mobile homes, removal permits, and ownership changes. Before a mobile home is removed, they're supposed to go to the tax collector to get a permit so we can check on the status of taxes before it's gone. And we're also deal with ownership changes. Mobile homes are a transient population. There's a lot of people in and out, and trying to keep track of where they are and who's the owner it's a job. You really have to keep on top of it. So if I have somebody with a mobile home come in and they say, I'm thinking of moving, I'll say, please make sure you get the ownership change through so we can get through to the county so that they know to bill the right person. But a lot of times they move in and out a lot. So that's something that we have to keep on top of. We also mail and process reminder notices. We do that in November for the people who haven't paid their taxes yet. That way they have until the end of the year to pay their taxes. And if they don't, we get all that information prepared and ready for tax claim and get those unpaid bills over to them. We participate in quarterly audits from municipalities, school boards, and even the US Census Bureau. We maintain websites for our offices and also keep up communications. I know for my township and some other townships, they have newsletters, and I always provide a little blurb about what's going on in the tax collection office. So we administer our office with timely responses to emails, phone calls, regular mail, and in-person requests. So those are some of the things that we do that people expect us to do on a regular basis. So I thought I'd go over some of the things that you might not expect us to do. which we wind up doing on a regular basis. We feel because we're a direct one-to-one contact for our taxpayers with an actual elected official, they come to us for other things besides just tax collection. We're a one-stop shop for them to come in. They can pay their taxes and they're like, oh, you're an elected official. I'm going to talk to you about this. So we hear about all types of issues beyond just tax collection. We're in one location. People know where we are, and there's an ease of access. A lot of us are in our township buildings, so they'll come to talk to them about a coding issue and stop in and pay their taxes. When we hear about these different questions or concerns they have, we try to guide our residents to the appropriate location in the county or the township to help them. Some of the things we hear about are dog licenses, coding, building issues. If I add this shed to my property, if I add this porch to my property, how do I do that? Do I have to go through coding? Is it going to affect my taxes? So we try to answer those questions. You hear questions about election. I've been hearing a lot about the election this year. They want to know where they go to vote, where can they get a mail-in ballot. My opinion on the election, which I don't get involved with that, but we also have questions about services for our elderly. Where can they go to get help with this? Questions about municipal programs, like what's going on with parks and recs. And at least a hot topic in my township is garbage collection. When you change people's way of collecting garbage, they have a lot of questions and concerns about that. So we hear these things. We try to guide people to the correct area to get their questions answered. Another thing that we do is help fill out the tax rebate program from the state. As I said before, they're required to have a receipt, but a lot of people need some help with how to go about doing that. About 5 or 6 years ago, the state would provide us with these printouts, the booklet and the applications. And then they stopped doing that as a cost-cutting measure. So we don't have them in our office. Normally, they would just send them to us. Now we don't have that. So I'll have a lot of taxpayers asking how they can go about doing that. So I'll print, and a lot of us will print it off the internet for them. Because again, this program is for elderly people and they are not totally sure how to use the computer to print that off. So we'll provide that with them. We've also reached out to like our local representatives like Barb Lime. They will provide us with the actual booklets. So we'll have them in our office for people to fill them out. We've also helped people with the homestead credit program and how to fill out the applications. We'll print off the applications, we'll go through them. A lot of times homestead, it's like a young homeowner. They're not sure what their parcel number is and things like that. So we'll walk them through the application and how they do that. Another area we have is listening to complaints and concerns. As I said, we hear a lot about garbage collection, about taxes going up and things like that. So we'll sit and I will sit and listen to them. And then I'll say, you're always welcome to go to your commissioners meeting, your school board meeting, and your supervisors meeting. They usually all have public periods where you can express your concerns. A lot of them say, no, I'm good. I just wanted you to know you can tell them. But I think they just like to get it off their chest. So we get to listen to that. We take appointments outside of our office hours to help taxpayers. We come in before our office hours, after our office hours. If we happen to not be working that day, we can go in. So we try to be at ease of they can come in and pay us the taxes. We have gone to taxpayers' homes, especially elderly people, to collect taxes, to provide receipts. If there's problems with the checks, like they forgot to sign it or the written portion doesn't match the numerical, we've gone to their homes to help them get that resolved. We have taxpayers who work with community programs, so to get the information out, tax collectors who work with community programs to get the information out. For example, in Big Spring, our tax collectors there work with the senior center and help get information there. And then the senior center also gives them information for products for the elderly. We set up office hours at local senior community centers. We have some tax collectors that have a 55+ residency in their township. So they go twice a year during discount period and sit in their activity center and are up there for a couple hours so people can just pop in and pay their taxes. And we also do things like explained veterans exemption, as Barb said, that's important. I just had a gentleman move into my township from Texas. He had the VA exemption there and he asked me, how do I go about getting it here in Pennsylvania, so I helped them with that process. We've also, as I said, helped the EMS and firefighters get receipts for the county rebate. We've reached out to the captains of the firehouses asking for names of the of the firefighters there, so we can get them the receipts all at once. Some of us have taxpayers that are outside of the country, so we've emailed them tax bills. We give information about the assessment appeals process, especially with a new bill, people come in, say, assessed too high. I've never gotten them assessed too low, but I'll say if you're assessed too high, there is a way to go about appealing that process. We have questions about how to handle demographic changes on the bill, like if a spouse passes away or there's a divorce, how do we go about getting the correct names on the bills? So we help them with that process. We take educational classes and attend conventions so we can be up to date on information to pass that along to our taxpayers. For example, the local or the statewide conventions this weekend in Camp Hill. So a lot of us are attending that. We act as a listening ear. I will have to say I have heard things I never thought I would hear as a tax collector. I won't tell you some of them, but it's just been some interesting things. But we hear about health issues, financial issues, family issues, politics, garbage collection is a big topic, neighbor issues, there are trees in my branches or in my yard, pet issues, doctor issues. We've had people cry in our offices, especially if a spouse has passed away and that spouse was the one who paid the bills and wrote the checks. They're not sure how to pay their taxes, so we help them through that process. We provide resources to try to help them if we can't answer their question right there. But a lot of times, especially the elderly people, we think they just want someone to listen to them and know that someone's out there trying to help them. We've helped find doctors' phone numbers. We've assisted in how to fill out checks for the IRS, how to pay their water bill. I had someone ask me where they could recycle neon light bulbs. So I looked that up on the county website and gave them that information. So there's just a wide variety of different things that we get asked about. And we know our constituents and they know us. We've had tax collectors see something or hear a story from a taxpayer that just didn't sound right, like maybe they're getting scammed, so they reached out to the family to let them know. We know our area, so like if we see a building pop up that we haven't received an interim bill for, we'll let the county know. If there's some destruction to property in our township, we'll let the county know. I had a tree fall on a home back in March in Gardner's, and it really pretty much destroyed the home. So I made sure that Kathy knew about it so they could send an assessor out there to look at that. We have taxpayers ask us about our family, about our trips, about our pets. We ask them about their families, their trips, and their pets. We even get visits from pets, which always makes my day when a dog comes in. We are stopped in the grocery store, at school events, walking our dogs, and ask questions. They ask us for different advice, like if we're selling our house, should we pay our bill now or just let it ride? We've been giving goodies as thank yous. We've been giving pens, thank you notes, cookies. I've gotten treats for my dogs. We just get a whole bunch of things as a thank you. That's a really nice bonus to the job to get a thank you like that. And so those are some of the things that we do on a regular basis that you, like I said, you probably know about, and some things you probably didn't know about because they're not really in what you think a tax collector would do. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and go into some facts and figures about the job and tax collection and pay. The Pennsylvania State Tax Collector Association, which is the statewide, contracted with Susquehanna Polling and Research this past year from April 29th through May 5th to conduct a survey about tax collectors. They contacted 705 registered voters throughout the state, with a 17% responded from our area of South Central Pennsylvania. 68% surveyed said they liked being able to vote for their local real estate tax collector, and 71% said the most important method they wish to have to be able to pay their taxes was either in person to their local tax collector or through the mail. We feel we provide the county and our jurisdiction an easy, efficient, and cost-effective way to collect taxes. Like I said before, we deal with any problems with the payments. They're all taken care of, and then the next week we turn over the money. Hopefully, by that point, problem-free. In terms of cost-effective, we do not have benefits. We don't have health insurance or pension or paid time off. A lot of us pay rent because we're in our township's municipal building. A lot of us pay our own utilities. We pay for our own office equipment. So in that way, our jurisdictions don't have that cost. We have that cost. We are currently, in terms of our pay, I call it a two-step pay. We're a 4-year term. In the first 2 years of the term, we're giving a per bill collected bill rate. And then the last 2 years of the term, it goes up a little bit and we're giving a per bill collected rate, if I say that correctly. So I believe you have in front of you the chart that we have. If you look, the first column is the year. For 2024, I only have through 9/27, but I wanted to give you some of the information as current as possible. The next column talks about the compensation, our gross pay before taxes, et cetera, taken out. And then the next column talks about the change and then a percentage of change. Then we have our per bill rate. We are currently at $2.71 per collected bill. And then the next column talks about the change. So last year we were at $2.58. This year it's $2.71, and that will be next year. So it was a 13-cent increase. Then I have a percentage of the change in pay rate. If you'll see back in 2020, it was almost 11%. That reflects back to they used to pay tax collectors a different way, and there was a change in compensation. And with that change in compensation, I guess the pay went down, and this was to try to get it back to where it was. So that's why it was around 11% increase. The next column shows the number of bills that we mail out. This year is almost over 100,000 bills. And then the next column talks about the total amount billed at the face amount. There's a discounted face and a penalty amount. So the next column shows the total face amount. So for example, this year it was over $72 million that was sent out. And then the next column talks about the amount of money that we were collected and were able to turn over to the county, with the next column being a percentage of not collected. If you see, it's right around 1% that we haven't collected, and then that percentage is turned over to tax claim to be worked on. And then the final column has a percentage of what our pay is of what we collect. So for example, last year of the over 61 million, we collected 0.41% was the tax collector pay. So next year we are up for election, and tax collector law requires that we have a resolution or an ordinance in place by February 15th of the year we're up for election. Next year it's February 14th because it falls on a Saturday the 15th. So there needs to be, our jurisdictions need to have this in place next year for the election. So one of the main reasons why we're coming here, besides to talk to you about what we do, is to respectfully request increase in our pay. So we are proposing a 15-cent per collected bill raise for 2026 and 2027. That would bring our pay from a $2.71 per bill to $2.86 per bill. Over 2 years, this is a 5.54% increase. The next, again, going along with the two-step increases we've gotten in other terms, it would be a 15-cent increase per bill for the 2028 and 2029, and that would bring it to $3.01 per bill collected for a 5.24% increase over 2 years. So again, this is a proposal that we're presenting to the commissioners. I believe you also got a letter that we wrote with this proposal, and I'm going to use another quote from Stacy here, but this was from March of 23, and it says in her email, "We want to work with you as partners and look forward to hearing anything you have to share about what we are doing." And we just wanted to let the commissioners in the county know that we do appreciate the changes that we've seen and the positive feedback. We appreciate the increased communication. We feel that it's helped us to become better tax collectors. And we look forward to working with the county as partners to serve the taxpayers of Cumberland County in the future. And that's the presentation, if you have any questions.
Gary, you're making notes?
I was making notes.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I have a number.
Okay.
So this is my first go round at this.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I'm just trying to make sure that I have my understanding of the relationship intact. So when you talk about printing and mailing, those are costs that you are not absorbing individually as tax collectors.
The county prints and mails. Yes.
Correct, okay. So we are a component of your compensation.
Mhm.
You are, you receive compensation from the township, the school district, and other fees as assessed. My question around, I guess, some of those other fees.
Mhm.
So for example, if you are charging a tax certification fee
Mhm.
for a mortgage company,
Mhm.
there's a fee that is charged.
Yes.
Who sets that fee and what happens to that revenue?
That fee is, we have to have an ordinance or resolution in place from our municipality to set that. We set it, but we kind of set it based on what the other tax collectors in the area are. I know like in the Philly area, they charge $50 sometimes for tax cert. Our area is usually between $20 and $25. And then that revenue is returned to the tax collector because they are the ones doing the work for the tax cert.
Okay, so you're receiving the tax cert revenue directly. There's no share with the municipality on that.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if anybody here shares.
Okay,
It's mainly self-employment tax at that point. Self-employment income is what we have to pay taxes on it then, claim it as income.
and is that the same with all the other fees? Like that would be, because there are charges for receipts and different items such as that.
I don't personally charge receipts and to our taxpayers. Usually a tax certification takes place or a receipt for a mortgage company. A tax certification, we're certifying that the tax status is correct. We're on the line for it. So that's one of the reasons why we charge a fee, because we're doing the work, the research to make sure it is correct. There are NSF fees that are charged, but we are charged a fee from the bank because the check bounced. So there is a duplicate bill fee, and again, all that is because we're doing the work and providing the resources, the paper, etc. That money is returned to the tax collector.
Now, do you all view this as full-time employment?
I do. I mail out over 7,500 bills twice a year.
So it's interesting, I guess, to me, because I guess each of the municipalities, I mean, you function very differently depending on, and I know that Silver Spring, correct? Very big municipality, adding a lot of real estate versus some others. So I was just curious if it was viewed as
I think some of the smaller.
Mine is strictly part-time. I only
Mine's
have,
part-time.
it's 3,000 tax bills
But we're on call.
or on call.
You're an elected official.
Yeah.
So are we. You're right. And on your fees, I'm just curious because of my background, do you have any disclosure requirements as to those, to reporting those fees?
Do you mean, like we're supposed to post our fees in our office and have a resolution or ordinance done on the municipality.
Okay.
So they have to, our township
I
supervisors.
couldn't find a few of them online. I was Googling online to say, like, I wanted to know what the average fee was. My, I was background in banking and know that it was a fee that was charged, but it has changed and gone up over the years.
I would say for our area, between $2 and $5 is the duplicate bill fee. I know some people, there's a Facebook page for Pennsylvania State tax collectors, and that's for all over the state. There are some who charge $10 for a duplicate bill fee. I think it's kind of just what is the fee for that marketplace.
Y'all are price fixing. But it's okay. It's relative to the area. But okay.
I just want to go back to the tax certification because there has been collectors. If we report it wrong, we're on the line for it. There has been collectors that had to pay people's taxes because they reported it wrong.
And part of that dealt with interim bills. If
If they had an interim bill that they did not report on the certification, it falls back on us.
Mistakes do happen once in a while, but
So I just find it interesting because when you're certifying that the information that you've recorded is accurate
mhm,
and you've collected that payment.
And sometimes you'll get an NSF check
Right.
in the meantime, and luckily I've caught
I mean,
mine and I've gone back to the company and said, hey, this check came back to me.
Yeah, and I'm sure though, in your practice, you're probably not certifying something until you know if that check is cleared.
No, that's not true.
It's not, yeah, not
If somebody
necessarily.
pays me a check today, and I'm sorry to jump in, but if somebody pays me a check today and somebody asks me for a tax cert tomorrow, it's listed as paid.
that's because a lot of the companies are, we need this ASAP. You would not believe the number of settlement companies that say we need our tax cert now. I don't know, usually home sales don't happen like that, but a lot of them put a deadline. There's even one law firm in the area that says they want a response within 5 days. It's in their letter. So a lot of them want a quick turnaround on their tax certs. And so if we got a tax cert and waited for a week and a half for a check to clear, then we're running a week and a half behind on the tax cert, and then we start getting nasty grams
Yeah.
saying,
And
where's
you're
our
probably
cert?"
having your checks clear in 2 days.
I got one back 2 weeks.
No.
Yeah, I had one that I deposited and 2 weeks later it bounced.
Me too.
So most of them do clear right away, but I'm not sure why some situations, but you said your banking experience, you might not know why some don't clear right away. I don't know what the situation
Some will
is.
try 3 times, up to 3 times. A bank may try 3 different days for it to
Right.
clear and then finally kick it back.
You guys should have your account set up to no returns ever, that you're notified immediately. And I'm saying that only as protecting you, like you should not allow any bank and any of your deposits to rerun a bounce check. Because it will shorten your collection time.
Mhm.
So I guess my whole thing is it's I find it challenging for us. And many of you may be aware, we are in a very difficult budget situation here in the county. We have done tremendous work at addressing a whole host of issues, and we are looking for ways to continue to do that. But I'm not seeing any major truck rolling up with a whole bunch of money for us to fund, quite frankly, a lot of our operations that we need to. We're deficit in some of our programs that we're trying to fund. So I'm trying to really understand your compensation and our component of that. If we are the key component of that, if the school districts are the key component, or who how it all comes together. So I appreciate your feedback, because I quite frankly, I do not know that. Is that right? Does anyone else have questions that they would like to ask at this time?
Man, what was the average increase of salaries for the county employees the last time?
Well, there were no bonuses in the budgets for last year or this year.
in there? And
I could give potentially a range, but I don't want to speak off the top of my head with that, because there was a whole salary survey and study done, a compensation study, and it was done in different increments.
But when that is done, you don't ask them what they may be making from another outside source. So I don't see what I'm making from my school district or from my township has any bearing on what I'm making from the county. There are 3 different, I have different jobs for each one, and I still do the work for each one, not based on what I'm getting from each one. That's all I have to say.
I guess I'm just saying we're a component of the revenue, and as an elected official, I ran for this job knowing the compensation. So I would imagine that a number of you have run through your jobs knowing your compensation.
Right, and that's
level.
why we need this to be set for the next time we run.
Right. And we're operating under the item that was set. And I know we have to set.
Right.
Okay. I'm aware that will have to happen. I'm just trying to understand.
No, I appreciate you
If
showing
you-
how it's done.
and how that relates to all of the components of your compensation. So this 2024 total compensation is 264,972.44. You divide that amongst the 33 taxpayers and split it evenly?
And the tax collectors?
Yes,
No, it's based on per bill.
per bill.
So like I collect over 7,000 bills, so I'm gonna have a higher compensation than someone who collects 3,000 bills,
Right.
so. Yeah, so.
And Jennifer, to your point, and that's why you are more full-time. I mean, if you have a disproportionate number of
Mhm.
taxpayers in your.
And South Middleton is a growing township. We have a lot of, I would say we see a strong influx of immigrants coming in. So I'm having a lot of interim bills. we're not quite the level of Silver Spring. But, so it's not just the bills that go out in March and July for school in Orange County Township. I have a lot of interim bills coming in because we're seeing a lot of residents being built.
Same with Upper Allen. Upper Allen, we're on that. I have over 8,000 now and they just keep building. So.
Yeah, drive by and you can see that.
So I'm pretty much full-time too.
And like you said, as being elected official, we're called, all hours of the day and emails, and that's part of the job too, so.
That's all I had written down. I was curious as you were going through. The integration with GSS. I know that I had worked a little bit with Mel. Is that a product that the vast majority, I believe, are using GSS?
I'm one of the ones who's not.
Okay. You're not either?
I use it.
Okay.
I use it.
I was just curious as feedback for us on that product and the use of that product.
I like it. There's a few bugs that still need worked out, but I love it.
Overall, I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting the bugs worked out. We work closely with them to get it the way we want it, so we can work with it and be efficient.
And that's one of the many things that we do that we don't get paid for. When we collect a county bill, we're paid a flat fee. But there's all these other things. We all attended training. We've all attended all that stuff that there's no compensation for. It's not like we attend a conference and we get paid by the hour. We get paid by the bill that we collect, regardless of how many background hours were needed to get there. So when GSS switched over, we all attended training sessions. We all attended sessions, hours and hours of things that we did that were part of our job.
But have you gained that back in any efficiency?
Well, I hope so. I mean, when I first started.
So would I, but that's my question, I guess. Have you? I mean, I don't know. I mean.
Well, it was a brand new system, so we all had to attend training to learn how to use it.
And I have heard from different tax, if something new happens, like year end, I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of, because we haven't had a year end yet on the GSS online. There's going to be bugs that need to be worked out. Like I know the first time they had to do a DCED report, we're required monthly to file a DCED report by the 10th of the month, each of our jurisdictions. I know the first time they did the DCED report, because being part of the Tax Collector Association, that there were some issues, and there still are some issues with getting the DCED report. So I think every new time you have something, there's going to be some bugs that need to be worked out for that program.
Jennifer, can I ask if was there a reason that you've elected not to utilize the system?
When I started back 10 years ago, I don't know if you remember Robert Cairns, you might remember. Yes, yeah. He was a tax collector, and I think GSS had just come out maybe a year or two.
2014.
He was on UltraTax, that's what.
Yeah, and he went to a training session, and he said it was not doing half the things that he could do on his current software.
Okay.
He said, I highly recommend that you don't use it, So I went around and talked to some other tax collectors who had different programs, and I chose RAC. That's the software, and I pay, it costs me money to buy it every year, but I just chose, I'm very comfortable with it. It does everything I want it to do. And I'm not trying to badmouth GSS, but I still heard a lot of grumbling and complaints about it. I'm still hearing some, but maybe not as many, because like I said, there's gonna be bugs that have to work out. And I just was comfortable. I had a system that worked, and I wanted to keep it.
And it was worth it to you to
Yes.
pay for that system? And does it integrate with ours so that we're
Yes.
getting the same? Oh,
I just print out export file in a text data format and email it to the county.
because I know at one point when we were talking, I think there was some impetus to say, well, no, if you're a tax collector in Cumberland County, you have to be on our system. But if it's
Mhm.
not creating any issues, if you're able to get us the information, then that may not be a necessary.
Mhm.
So, thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
You're welcome. This is the next step. We just wait to hear from you, or do you need any more information from us, or?
Yeah, I think we need to, because you're quite ahead of the game. You said it's February,
Yeah.
so.
We knew the budget talks were probably coming up for you, so we didn't know if
They
you
are.
wanted to.
They absolutely are.
Mhm.
And so quite frankly, I'll need to ask guidance on our solicitor from our solicitor, and Gary, maybe you can opine, when we would typically do the resolution and take action on that, because I'm not familiar with that. It looked like the last one was done in February. So I wait until the required timeline.
I guess this February will arrive pretty
Oh,
quickly.
okay, yes. Well,
I just have some follow-up questions from tax assessment. Like, I want to make sure that I'm firm on the number of tax bills that went out this year. And I know that we don't know what that number will be for next year yet.
Right. Mhm.
But I just want to look at that and look at what this request would do in terms of dollars going out.
Yeah, so the first run was over 100,000, but that doesn't include interim bills. So that would go out on a monthly basis. Like I think Deb says sometimes she has a couple hundred interim bills a month. So that will increase.
41 years.
Just to your point, Jen, I think there's gonna be some questions here if we digest this, so I think we're probably gonna task Reliable Stacy to work with us on maybe accumulating what questions still occur to us, and then we probably need to have to sit down and, address a number of these issues. One of the things when you folks come in, I always like hearing about the level of local service that's provided. I was a municipal official for 14 years, so I think I empathize a lot with how important that is to our residents. And I don't think that's changed a lot just because our residents have changed. If anything, maybe the other way around. The public likes their local government. There are a lot of people say it costs us more. I haven't seen a revolution in the streets from people wanting to get rid of municipal oriented government or school districts for that matter. So obviously the public attaches a certain value to that. And I think for the long term, it'd be useful for the commissioners to get a better understanding of what that value is. That it's not just the dollar, as I'm fond of saying. Value is not what you pay, it's what you get for what you pay. And I've noticed a couple of things here that you said, some of them I've heard before, was about essentially the way in which you can act as a bridge between municipalities and county government. We're always struggling to get more of our message out there at that grassroots level. And we try to work with municipalities. There's always something more we could do. Some of you are doing a lot of that work for us. I was amazed at the range of some of the services there. And also, Jen, I think you made the point about picking up on some of the local things that are going on. Communications is two-way. So we appreciate you being the eyes and ears here. That has value as far as I'm concerned. So, I'm going to raise a name here that a few will remember. Jim Hertzler was East Pennsboro Township Commissioner for a lot of years. Was here. Jim we could frankly get a little tired of him saying it, frankly, but he was, you know what I'm saying. He liked to say, he used to quote Thomas Jefferson, say, the government that works best is the government that's closest to the people. I think there's a lot of value to that. Pennsylvania's attached value to that. So I think we need to wrap that into our consideration too. So it's not just dollars and cents. I know there's been kind of a mindset that county can do it best. Not sure that that's actually true, but so I think this is going to require some conversations, some questions, and some answers on our part here. I found this very helpful today, especially for the so.
You're always welcome if you'd like to come sit in my office. First day of discount county bills. I have usually a line around the. Yep, I would say sometimes the first day I see over 100 people. So you're always welcome to come and see.
I might do that. I'd be interested in that. I was a title agent, a paralegal for many years, and so having a tax certificate, a tax certification quickly was incredibly important to the purchase and sale of a home.
Yes.
And then, of course, to that subsequent title insurance. So I appreciate this being local. It was so much easier. Right there, I mean, there are states where that person was not local, and it was very hard to get a hold of that giant company to get what you needed. Really hard.
An example of that is during COVID when our office closed. People were like in a panic that they could not get to us in person. I had people calling me and saying, "How am I going to pay my bill if I can't come see you?" Because they weren't allowed in. So that I think that also shows how much they appreciate being able to come in person to pay their bill, especially our senior citizens. They have this fear that if they don't get their taxes paid, they're going to lose their house the next day. So they really appreciate it. And COVID threw them, all of us, for a loop. But they were just like, how do we pay our bills? So I think Barb has a nice story. Well, I don't know if it's a nice story about the gentleman listing me first.
Oh,
Yeah, I just thought this was interesting.
it's just how close we get to our taxpayers. I had this gentleman, he had a rare form of cancer. And he was always keeping me up to date how he was doing. And he did go into remission at one point, but then it came back. Well, he had made a list for his wife of people to contact upon his passing. He wanted her to personally contact him. And I was on that list. And that meant everything to me. I mean, I'm just his tax collector. But they like coming in, talking to me. And, you know, we see each other at the grocery store, just out and about. And he made sure I knew personally that he had passed, and it just meant the world to me.
That brings up a great question though that I would ask is and Jen, when you say you have like 100 people in your, do you track the number of bills that you collect in person versus via mail or via payment?
I tried to, but when you have all these people coming in and out, it was hard for me to track. But
I would say because a majority of the people still have their mortgages paid, their tax bills. We don't have personal visits from mortgage companies.
right.
I would say, you know, that was where most of our payments come from, is the mortgage companies. But
more in person is our seniors.
our seniors.
I mean, I just had a senior come in my office today. She was scammed. And so the police department's to my left, the township's to my right. She comes into me and says, "Barb, can you help me? I was scammed. Can you take me over to the police?" Because she was afraid to go over for I don't know what reason. So I got up and walked her over, found an officer for her. I mean, that's the personal contacts we have with people.
It is interesting because I think that there is and this just goes to, you know, people want what they want, how they want, when they want it in a lot of ways. And there is a younger generation that wants to do everything online. And I completely get that that's not the senior, necessarily the senior population.
And to be online, that's why we've set up credit card and e-check so they can go online.
I know, I saw that on a number of them as well. So, I mean, I guess on that regard, you would be able to get some idea of your volume. Maybe you can't track what comes in to your office, but you could certainly track your volume online.
I will say a lot of people, once they find out there's a fee,
The fee.
some people like, you're not paying a fee for me. And I'm like, okay, that would be coming out of my pocket.
I feel like there's where there could be maybe value that the county could add, if there was one way to get a common vendor to really beat down that fee for residents of the county, regardless of which tax collector was being used.
I think our fee,
My fee is 2.4.
yeah, we're 2.4. A lot of us have the same company.
And I think that's lower than the county.
It's lower than the
Yeah,
county.
I think for the volume, you might, yeah, that would be something, and then I think the check fee,
It's $2.95.
that can be lower. But that's, yeah, those kind of fees, you can maybe collaboratively as a group, if you find more of your business shifting. that
They
way.
did try to raise, was it a couple years ago, our credit card fee, and we got together and we're like, no, if you do this, we're gonna look elsewhere. And then they kept it at 2.4, and then they said, we're gonna raise it eventually. Well, they never have. They left it there. Because I think we're just picking up more and more.
As a group, that's an influential position that you would be in to help the taxpayers, potentially make it more affordable for them to use that as an option.
A lot of people want to use it to get their points. And then when they find out that
The
the
fee,
fee actually makes it more than the discount amount, they're like, oh, that's all right, I'll just pay for it.
But then some people need to do the credit card
Yes.
because they can't pay it any other way.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. Unless there are any other questions? Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? All right. Hearing none, then we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So